Please allow me to introduce to you Dr. Phillips is also visiting professor at SUNY Stony Brook and visiting scientist at the Chinese Academy of Sciences in Beijing. He's the 2017 winner of the Contra-DF Medal awarded by Russian Academy of Sciences. And he is editor-in-chief of Elsevier's high-impact international journal Technological Forecasting and Social Change. Would you please lead the panel discussion? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam MC, for that lovely introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I'm Fred Phillips, and I've been with WTA for 10 years now. I think many of you are similarly old-timers as regards these conferences. And those of us who have been around a long time have accumulated a certain body of knowledge over these many years. And if my remarks, or if our panelists' remarks, presume too much on that cumulative body of knowledge, and if you're a newcomer to these conferences, I do encourage you to ask questions. Please don't hesitate to do that. You can do it by raising your hand after the panelists have spoken, or you can do that by submitting through the app that uses the Q code. We have a brilliant panel this afternoon. I'll introduce them in due course. What strikes me especially is that we have Technopolis and STP, Science Technology Park people, and Smart City people on this same panel. And this is potentially dangerous, but I hope it won't be too explosive. Because in some ways, the two movements started in the same way. Science and Technology Park concept, the Technopolis concept came along, and companies like Bechtel thought, oh, this is wonderful. We have an opportunity to pour lots of concrete and make money pouring concrete, and they built ghost cities. And eventually they came to understand that public art and other human amenities were an essential part of building greenfield technopolis. And so it was a culture shift. Imagine Bechtel getting into the art business. So similarly, the smart city movement came along, and companies like Cisco thought, wonderful, we can lay lots of cable and make money laying cable. And to date, they have very effectively taught computers how to live in smart cities, but somehow neglected to make these cities attractive and comfortable for human beings. And I suppose that eventually they'll catch on and effect a similar culture shift that Bechtel did. And I hope that that will be at their own expense and not at the public expense. So anyway, the composition of our panel, we have people from NGOs, from academics, from city governments, and that should be an indication. No corporate people, you see. So the very premise of this panel is that we do not want to leave all the decisions for smart city to the profit motive and to private enterprise. Even more than that, those of us who are involved in business education know that most of our graduates go out there and work for thoroughly dysfunctional organizations. And the very idea that a private company of perhaps several thousand employees who do not know how to cooperate with each other could teach a city of multiple millions of people how to be smart, it strains credulity, really. So in other ways, the Technopolis and the smart cities are very, very different. And indeed, I think they have opposing objectives, because smart cities are about efficiency, okay? And Technopolis are about innovation. And innovation is messy and inefficient. So the two are really in opposition. These are the same tensions that exist within a single corporation as the corporation tries to handle both its innovative activities that they call exploration and the other corporate activity of squeezing out economic value from existing assets, which is called exploitation. Okay, now, under the umbrella of a single organization or company, that's difficult enough to manage the tension between innovation and exploitation. But here in the public sector, with many constituents from different sectors of society, it's a much more difficult task. So I don't doubt that the data that's captured by smart cities can be used to improve our lives, especially if the owners of that data share it with people who can analyze it, but let's not hold our breath waiting for that to happen. And I know knowledgeable, innovative people who have been involved in smart city projects, some are in this room, who understand that if you live in a smart city, you are not the customer, you are the product. Yeah? And these people that I just mentioned may live in smart homes and they never turn on the smart home features. Again, mostly because of reasons of privacy. So can Technopolis and Smart City get along? They do share certain concerns in common. It's not my job to give a lecture right now, so I won't go into that. But you can imagine if you're an innovator, you're not going to want to brainstorm a new business plan or discuss a proprietary intellectual property while Alexa is listening. That's a ridiculous notion, yes? And new venture companies, you know the legend, they're traditionally started in garages, not in expensive wired real estate. So anyway, having set forth these challenges to our panelists, let me introduce first our keynote speaker, Raimund Broechler, and our remaining panelists can stay comfortable in the audience until after Raimund has spoken. Raimund is familiar to everyone who's been at these conferences before. He's the Senior Research and Innovation Manager at INTRASOFT International in Luxembourg and Vice President of the International Network of SMEs, Small and Medium Enterprises. Raimund has more than 20 years experience running large innovation and technology transfer projects and public-private partnerships. Please.
Just 1 second, my glasses are not as good to read that. So I need to activate my presentation here as well. So thank you very much for being so brave, being with us at this time. So thanks a lot for that. I hope I don't disappoint you. And I can guarantee you, I was a bit afraid when you are in session 3. Yeah, that everything was already said, but not by everyone. Yeah, but I think we have also some new aspects here that I want to present. And as Fred said, I have kind of two hats. On one hand, I'm working for a private company, private for-profit company, IT company. So, but on the other hand, I have another role. I'm also the vice president of the International Association for Small Medium Enterprises. So I'm also concerned about small medium enterprises, what they have to do, how they have to act, and so on. Our company is not anymore small medium enterprise. We are 2,100 people around, yeah, and we are in many countries active. But I understand very much how industry is changing. You know, when we are talking about IT companies, they are also under a lot of pressure. Yeah? Even if everything works only with IT, the marginal costs for IT and software development are shrinking, shrinking, shrinking. Yeah? So you have to build something what is called these days a product service system. So you have an IT product which is an app, a software, but you have to add a service. And smart cities are exactly that. Let me also thank my dear friend. No, this doesn't work. So sorry, I cannot use the, it works there, but not there, sorry. So I wanted to use a pointer. No, not going forward. So the second person here is my dear friend. Yeah, we are a long time together, and he cooperated on this publication with me and also on the presentation. It's Dr. Matthias Seifert, and he's a professor now at the Hochschule Fresenius, which is the University of Applied Science. So thanks to him as well. What I want to cover today is following aspects. I want to talk about different smart city concepts. We heard a lot, but I'm happy that I have another spin on it. I will talk about platform solutions because this is actually the topic, yeah? And we all have a bit different understanding of what a platform is. So let's come with my maybe more IT view on it, what a platform is that supports an ecosystem. So I would not describe the ecosystem as a platform. And then I will introduce, after we heard already about it, a bit of fireware. And I want to compare it to kind of some proprietary software solutions like Cisco and coming, you know, we heard the Cisco Songdo story already. And then what is kind of the start and the end of every smart city challenge? It is the KPIs, the key performance indicators. And if you take it right, and I think it was Kelushi is the name, yeah, who asked me, maybe you start with the key performance indicators, yeah? When you develop your smart city model, yeah, you have to know what you want to achieve. So start with the performance indicators, how you measure afterwards if you are successful. Maybe I was too fast. Okay, here we are. Why is smart city so important? Why are smart cities a kind of a test bed? The point is that we have 60% of world population very soon living in the cities. And if we know that 80% of the world energy is used in the 20 largest cities, yeah, I think that urban areas are the fantastic test bed in order to solve really global issues. Yeah, we can be very efficient on solving this problem. On the other hand, we have the big investments and the revenue expectations, yeah, which is here in this blue box. Yeah, we expect 27.5 billion annual revenue, so revenue, not investment, revenue coming out of smart city technologies by 2023, and a 174 billion investment that will come into smart cities at the same time, 2023. If you read the McKinsey Global Institute report, yeah, they kind of made a summary where they said, why, you know, how can this ecosystem function? And they made a statement saying that the public sector would be natural owner of 70% of the applications that you run in your smart city, but 60% of the initial investment required to implement a full range of applications could come from private actors. So when you set up your governance model, don't forget the private industry to be part of the governance model. And now the big challenge, whenever you talk about smart cities, maybe you talk about smart cities and then you have the feeling, it's not anymore actual, because now the people talk about smart and sustainable cities. So when I use smart cities, I just want to be fast, but I want to put both in one box. So I talk now about smart cities, but what I mean is smart and sustainable cities. Why is that? It's because the smart and sustainable city is an evolution of the smart city concept. You know, in earlier times, we were just looking on efficiency. Now, we are looking on efficiency and sustainability. And sustainability is not only the environment. It is the environment, but also the business model of a smart city. So, for example, you take a Cisco model, you have the serious problem of a vendor lock-in system. How can you create business opportunities for startups, for app development? How can you develop a two-sided market if you run with a proprietary system that has a vendor lock-in problem, a serious one? Yeah? So you will never ever get out of the trap that you have the big investments coming just from the public side. Yeah? This is a real problem. And if we talk about the models, I will not read it because we will, sorry. This is the one that I wanted to show, you know, when we talk about smart cities and smart and sustainable cities. There are kind of two models. One is a 4-pillar model, and the other one is an involved model, which is talking about six different pillars. And the 6 pillars are a kind of a loop that you run in your development. It comes from smart economy, smart mobility, smart environment, smart people, smart living, and smart governance. I mentioned that already, and the smart economy. So this is in a way how it is involved in the 2010 model. And there was one guy who was with his team, of course, Mr. Giffinger, who came with the first definition that you can read here, yeah, and they adopted it 2010 already because they had to put the sustainability aspect and the people into the model. That's the reason why we see nowadays, we see a model which has the 6 pillars. That is something I described already when I tried to find my way to this presentation. Yeah, it is a jungle. And everyone has another nice definition of smart cities or smart sustainable cities. And you always pick the one that fits best for you, yeah, what you want to achieve. And that is fair enough. That is fair enough. We can do that because no city is like the other one. Because if we have people that are the priority, then every individual is individual. Yeah? So we have cities that you cannot just easily compare. Think about the STPs in the 50s. Yeah? America started and then everyone copied. It's still policymaker darling. Yeah? Everyone wants to have a science and technology park. Yeah? But the definition is sometimes a problem. Let me move further in this story. We talked about this one, yeah. And sorry for the drops. It was raining when I prepared my presentation. So the first models were kind of the flagship projects. This was Smart City in the beginning. It was 22 billion investment, 40 billion investment if you talk about Songdo, 10 billion investment in Portugal, and the examples were Songdo, Masdar City, and Planet Valley in Portugal. Huge investments. But the newer understanding, even the understanding that we had already 2007 with the Giffinger model, they were describing this smart city model as something which has, in the 4-pillar model, 4 kind of ground elements. It's an institutional infrastructure, physical infrastructure, social infrastructure, and economic infrastructure. And because I like to come back always to this governance model, if you fine grid this governance model, it is participation in decision making, public and social services, transparent governance, and political strategies and perspectives. That should be covered by this model. And as I said, what you see, something is, sorry, I'm always faster here with my slides than with this one. So you see here on top right, you see the 4-pillar model, and then you see the involved model with the 6 pillars. This is the actual one that is normally taken by all the, let's say, the developers who are working on the tools, and also by the new governance models. What are the characteristics when we talk about these new models? And here you see that everything that is describing a new smart city or smart sustainable city has these core elements like sustainability, with all the ingredients, quality of life, urbanization, and smartness. And very nice to read is this, again, is a paragraph that we have here. After a decade of trial and error, municipal leaders are realizing that smart city strategies start with people, not technology. Smartness is not just installing digital interfaces in traditional infrastructure or streamlining city operations. It's about using technology and data purposefully to make better decisions and deliver a better quality of life. This is coming out of the McKinsey Global Institute report 2018, and I think it's a good definition that we have to take into account when we measure all that what is existing. Let me be a bit faster because I'm seriously running out of time otherwise. Let me go to the next one, which is now to the point you're in a city and you have to make this bold decision and you have to say, what do we do? And when Philip was giving his view on the smart city models and how mature the cities are in order to install it, he said, they are all not mature enough to understand what a smart city is. They need consultancy. They need support. Yeah? And I have to say now, after all these discussions, I agree a bit with him, because it's really, when we talk, for example, about KPIs, if you choose the wrong ones, you choose the wrong technology, you make a lot of mistakes. So if there is someone who has the understanding, like Philip seems to have, yeah, then it's good to take this advice, because you have to start with what you really want. Don't, if you're in a country with a specific stage of development, with a specific stage of industry, with a specific stage of education, you need to choose the right model and not something what a big corporate is suggesting, taking 22 billion or 10 billion, whatever. This is a huge amount of money. I would jump on, and this is my statement for Fireware, yeah? Just take, instead of 10 billion, take 50 million and invest this 50 million in people to understand the open source technology. Because if you do that, you invest less money, you educate the people, and they can build their business model within an open source environment. And tomorrow I will talk again, sorry for that, but I will talk in the UNESCO workshop, yeah, because I want to talk also about the STPs and the role of smart cities, yeah. And I think when I make this statement, yeah, I do not want to say that Cisco or Microsoft are bad guys, yeah, that just suggest something which is not appropriate. I think the smart cities are not in the position to define exactly their requirements. That's the reason why they get solutions that are totally wrong for them. It's too big. And then afterwards you have the political problem that it's too big to fail. We know that, yeah? And therefore, I would not blame them. But most of those solutions that come from the big corporates are maybe too big. And there is another thing that is here in red, is don't block the possibility of a two-sided market business opportunity. That is key. You know, whenever you build a smart city, there's a key investment that is made maybe from the government. There's another one that is coming from the private industry, yeah, that is putting also something on stock because they see the opportunities. But you have to have a system that is open and that allows the people to have app developments, business model development, and they can jump in. So they can replace the public investment. And you can create such a smart environment of startups, just waiting to solve the problems of big cities. That's a statement. This nice figure on the left side you saw, you cannot read anything, yeah? But when you just Google fireware, yeah, you will see the reference architecture. What I want to say here is, if you see the newest definitions of what kind of ingredients you need, and here I refer to an article from, he's a smart guy in smart cities, is Mr. B.N. Silva, and he published 2018 the kind of reference architecture on the right side. So this is on the right side, is his reference architecture. It's a layered infrastructure, yeah? And within this layered infrastructure, you have the different ingredients that you need in order to run a smart city. On the left side, you see the fireware architecture. And this works very well together. It's also a 4-layered infrastructure, yeah? And it has the data acquisition, so you have everything coming from the traffic lights, from the sensors that you have on the street, the sensors you have in the buses, and, yeah? And then you go to the next level, which is the data management. Then the other level is the data processing. And then you go on the top level, this is the interface to the user, or to the customer, or however you say, these are the citizens. Yeah? And you have to bring, this is the task of the governance and the government, they have to bring this to the benefit of the citizens together. And therefore, you need an infrastructure, and this is a 4-layered infrastructure. How bad I'm in my timing? You sent me a warning, huh, Fred? Okay. Ah, there's one missing speaker, so I can bother you a bit more. So, okay, let's go ahead. You know, whenever we talk about the smart cities, yeah, we have, you know, it's not day zero. We are not in year zero. We are somewhere in time. So every city has a different status and different level where they are. So I would say that we need an infrastructure that is picking up a city at all stages. And where does everyone start with? It is normally something like you see here, again a bit small to read, so I will help you a bit. You have something like what they call vertical solutions, yeah? And you have something where a city is organizing public lighting, yeah? You have something that is, you know, mapping gardens, maps, when are they open. So these are the so-called open data. A city is a big source of data. And they have to be taken and then distributed and used. Yeah? And then you have something else which is a bit more industry, is a waste management. Yeah? One of the big topics of a city. What is the big problem here? is whenever a city normally starts with that, they create silos. So you have a very nice application and a series of applications within waste management. But this is not talking to the lighting, and this is not talking to the garden and parks. This is a problem. So whenever you want to grow such a system, you have to think from the beginning about what you want to achieve at the end. And therefore, because this is really a journey to go, you have to take into account that there are steps, you know, and you can always jump in whenever you want if you have the right infrastructure. And to be honest, from these big solutions, it is just like a big monster package. Yeah? They take you from 0 to 100 in 1 second. And you have to handle it, yeah? Because nothing is made for it. You don't have enough sensors, you don't have enough information, you don't have partly the interoperability of the data coming up. And here, the fireware model is allowing you to jump in, first of all, whenever you want, wherever your status is, and then go on this journey, because it's really a journey. It's not in a one-day made, yeah? And then you go, you know, becoming truly smart is that you organize the level here, which is on the different applications. Then you need the collaborating towards a sustainable market, supporting the open innovation. We heard about it in another workshop. Yeah, you have to embed a model that allows open innovation. You have to take further stuff of developments from, for example, universities, from science technology parks, from startups, and so on. And then you have to enable a data economy. This is a purpose. You know, you have to build an economy based on the city data, and then you have a business model for the city. Otherwise, it's tough way to go. And again, this what looks a bit complicated and is not readable for you, sorry, yeah, but again, it is in my presentation, the links are there, and you will get this presentation as well for the printout and so on. So you will find this when you just type in fireware reference architecture. What is the real kind of added value is that with the fireware system, you are able to break totally these vertical silos. You can integrate via what they call a context broker. You can invite every data coming in, and the context broker is taking care for the data and distributes afterwards the data management. If you're not an IT guy, it's maybe a bit complicated to understand, but I can guarantee you that what is done here in the architecture is super smart. It's super smart because it allows you to be fully interoperable, fully, with all the data coming on. You just need a context broker that is able to understand the source of the data format, and then translate it. Fred will kill me if I'm not a bit faster. So, how many minutes? 2, 3? 2? Ah, okay. Let me jump on this one, yeah, because I jump with my own slides and not with this one. There's a good story to tell. It's not only Japan, we heard it today, that jumped on the fireware exercise with some problems, yeah, to source the data, but I think you can kill it with the governance model and with a memorandum of understanding where you source the data from. There was also an agreement made on the 28th of May between fireware, Smart City, and the Korea Agency for Infrastructure and Technology Advancement. They signed an MOU, so fireware reached South Korea. So for the people who are interested in, I think you can contact these guys, yeah, and they signed already an MOU and they want to go ahead. I think it would be really nice, because we discussed Daejeon, the position of Daejeon, the WTA, because, you know, this model allows you to exchange data between cities. You can compare your KPIs. If you mix this model with the work of WTA, you can help other countries to understand how your city works. You can have an app developer in South Korea that offers the service to Nairobi or Namibia. It's not a problem. It's an open business model that you can embed. And that is really smart in this model of FIWARE. It's totally open. You don't have to pay for it. What you have to organize is some training, awareness, and the first start was done with this MOU with South Korea. And I own this to Mr. Keluchi, is here. When you start this exercise, there's a lot of literature where you can find KPIs. So there are about 431 different KPIs for smart cities. There are about 12 different standards. Yeah? An ISO 3720, an ISO C37122, ET51, and so on. Yeah? So there are standards defined now for smart cities that you can better jump on it and follow. And I think it's important that you, from the beginning, you define your KPIs. Where do I want to be? And how do I measure if I'm successful or not? So therefore, I would really appreciate if you also check this literature, and you have that all in the presentation, yeah. And something which is also really smart that I found at the end, it's something they developed for Europe, but they are open to exchange best practice, is the EIP SCC digital platform. What is that? It is a kind of a marketplace for smart cities, and exchange best practices, how it works, and so on. It is something, you know, what I really appreciate with the turn that the European Commission made. Yeah? We are a single market, and we need to exchange best practices within the single market. But this is not a closed shop. Yeah? So they open, like the Enterprise Europe Network, they open it for the community, for the world. And I think this is a chance that you should use. And now I will stop my presentation and thank you very much for your attention. And I'm looking forward to the next speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Raimund. That's fascinating stuff, and I was truly sorry to pull the plug, but the rest of our panel members are allocated 10 minutes each, and I suspect that they are going to be naughty too. So we need to move on. Let me introduce the panel members. First is Dr. Avvari Mohan, who is Associate Professor and Strategic and Innovation Director of Research at the Nottingham University Business School, University of Nottingham, Malaysia campus. And Mohan is also an editorial board member of World Technopolis Review, the journal of the World Technopolis Association. And we have Dr. Sung-Kwang, the president of Innopolis Foundation, right here in Daejeon, Republic of Korea. He has a PhD from Purdue University, which is my father's alma mater. I've visited there frequently. And he has been Director General for Korea's Space and Nuclear Policy Bureau and Assistant Minister for the Office of R&D Policy. And yes, we're being informal, so if you want to sit up here, it's fine. If you want to wait down there, that's fine also. Dr. Jaehoon Rhee is the CEO of the Gyeongbuk Technopark Foundation and former chairman of the Korean Technopark Promotional Association, and has been involved in Technopark projects since 1998. Very happy to have him here, and his PhD is in organizational behavior from Cornell University. And our friend Mayor Irene from Tangerang City in Indonesia was not able to join us, so we have a slightly smaller panel than expected. Would you like to deliver your remarks, Mohan? Please.
Good afternoon, everybody. 한국 사람한테 제 이름이 모한입니다. 별명은 국제 그지입니다. If you've understood it. For the non-Koreans, I'm known as an international beggar as I go around different countries to live my life. My interest in this area started with innovation systems and clusters, and that's how I came to Daejeon 23 years ago. And then I moved back to my hometown, Hyderabad, which was emerging as a cluster. Certain things happened, and I was running away from an arranged marriage, and I ended up in another cluster called Cyberjaya. Cyberjaya was a cluster in Malaysia that was being built as a greenfield cluster. In today's panel, after Raimund's presentation, ideally I should have spoken about the cluster of Cyberjaya, which was called an intelligent city. They didn't use the word smart. And it was linked to a government city called Putrajaya. Both were purpose-built. Putrajaya was supposed to offer the market, and Cyberjaya was supposed to bring in the vendors and provide vendors the opportunity, market opportunity, and they expected innovations. I didn't want to continue on that, and I was wondering how to articulate my reason not to use Putrajaya, Cyberjaya, but Fred gave the answer to it. Smart cities are efficiency-oriented, whereas technoparks or science parks were meant to be innovation-oriented. And that's exactly what happened to Cyberjaya. With an efficiency orientation to have a smart government, all that it did was to pull in vendors offering support to the government applications. It's evolved into a completely different being right now, so it didn't quite fit this kind of a presentation. I also wanted to go away slightly, and as the beautiful Karuna Gopal articulated beautifully, there are social issues of developing countries which perhaps the Western smart city models or smart city innovation platform models may not offer. And we've been looking at non-market players coming into the business world in the business school in Nottingham. Our interest was to see what kind of role do non-market players have, and also from the context of innovation. While I'm not presenting the innovation cases, I'm only presenting one case, given 10 minutes time. For many of you who might be familiar with the case study of a carpets company called Interface, it is very interesting. We can take certain words out of Raimund's talk also about dual market opportunities. Interface Carpets is an American company. Part of its supply chain comes from broken fishing nets in Philippines, and these broken fishing nets are collected by fishermen, and the mediators between Interface Carpets and the fishermen are non-government organizations. They teach the farmers how to, the fishermen to pick the fishing nets out of the coral reefs and pass it on to Interface Carpets, who have suppliers to convert them into raw materials. The double benefits are that the fishermen have two incomes now, and they're also doing the job of the government cleaning up the coral reefs. So there's an ecological benefit, a social benefit, and a corporate benefit, the people, planet, profit kind of a thing. So we are looking at these models in the business school, calling them as responsible business strategies. So we are now starting to look at the corporate world not as a bad guy, but if a non-market player is in place, there could be some governance to mediate or moderate the behaviors of the corporate world. The business school in Nottingham has a Center for Social Responsibility for the past 25 years. I'm taking this opportunity to even promote the school a little bit. They were ahead of their curve in this area, and that gave the opportunity to look at a few things for this forum. So while I'm not in line with the rest of the speakers looking at tech parks, but what Raimund presented can offer a platform to see how we bring in non-market players into this game of smart cities. So these are my views, and I've not done great research and data, but some of it are field studies that we have put together. This is a good starting point. Raimund also has mentioned it. I wanted to throw in there because Malaysia also has gotten to this game of ghost towns. The south of Malaysia, where there are massive investments in what are called smart cities with lots of technology that nobody switches on. Malaysia is a very human country and a humane country. They still like to shop offline. The new generation may change these things, but the pleasure of the country is in markets and open spaces. So sometimes technology doesn't quite get into the space as it does in India in some ways. Right? So with this as the problem of smart cities, etc., please only look at the colored points. We should try to make it like a Twitter presentation. So Raimund has given a good start off for me in terms of the discussions around the frameworks for smart cities, the frameworks for the data and the architecture for data. And more or less, I started with the same references. Among the questions given to us about what should be the data, how to collect the data, I was more interested in the question on what could be the platform for smart city or smart urban solutions where there are situations of quote-unquote poor people or inclusivity and so on for developing countries like India or also some parts of Malaysia. Right? So my interest is in what could be different actors that should be put in place onto a platform, and the non-market actor is of great interest to me, along with the corporate world. So could there be a need for more than one innovation platform in a smart city? Perhaps is something to consider, particularly in a developing country point. Very quickly, what are we trying to do with a smart city platform? Some problems, how to solve them? Could there be innovative ways? And could there be new actors coming into the play on these smart city platforms? So I liked Raimund's word of a jungle of definitions, and here's another jungle. I just want to leave it at that. The simplest way to look at the answer to what I see as a smart city seems to be those green lines. Wherever there is environmental and social issues being considered in addition to the profit-making issues. We cannot run away from the fact that cities also need to be viable financially. This is the biggest problem, of course, for developing countries. So Deloitte, while he mentioned McKinsey, the other player in the market in the big four, Deloitte started talking about rise of a city as a platform, and they have started mentioning what I was interested in, the role of the government, role of non-government organizations, and the business world, which Raimund also has pointed out. Never leave out the corporate world. Politicians may come and go, and dear friend Umar, you pointed out very nicely, how do we get on with it when the political parties keep changing in the emerging economies? The answer seems to be if there are corporate bodies which are governed a little bit by the non-government bodies. Right? So here is one platform. We were looking at the corporate social responsibility agendas. Many a time the CSR platforms are criticized as a tax evasion entity in the corporate world. And in South Korea or in India also, it is where the children of the big company owners who can't do anything are given the CSR space. So the good son or the good daughter runs the company, and the bad son or the bad daughter runs the CSR agenda. But interestingly, this is what we've seen. The tech companies in the Hyderabad city found a shortage of manpower. So there's a great smart city with great technology companies, and there was a huge shortage of manpower in a country like India. And then the answer came out this way. We started looking at what certain companies like Microsoft, CA from USA, Computer Associates as it was called, and some of the local companies started doing. They started either setting up foundations or working with civic society organizations, and either working directly with the local schools, which were not well endowed, or working with certain community organizations and educating children in software. I've put double-sided arrows simply because it was not a charity. The agenda was clearly to get back trained manpower into their systems within the local entity. So if the Microsoft that's located in Hyderabad hires locally or across India, but also starts looking at hiring inclusive people. So if there's a smart city with beautiful high-tech buildings on one side and on a slum on the other side, we know what could happen, the issue of peace, etc. And this seems to be working out quite well for Hyderabad, which is one of the high-tech clusters in India. And it's not only an IT cluster, but also a pharma and biotech cluster. The story of Bangalore, which many of you would have heard, is quite different in terms of this, if you see it as an innovation platform. They have nearly 300 engineering colleges, and so there was a good supply of software developers, although they're not meant to be software developers. What is more interesting here is number of science graduates who are not getting jobs. The Microsofts and the CA associates were picking up and training them into immediate software developers. So whether it was unemployability, underemployability, or underprivilegedness, all these were coming together. So this is the simple platform that we were looking at, and how does it mean in terms of data collection? That's where the challenge is. Non-government organizations coming into the play, but what they do is to give you a market sense. Tech organizations coming into play. The role of the government could be moderation or offering problems to be solved. I don't want to go further. This is just a teaser that I wanted to bring in terms of role of the corporate social responsibility platforms. Could there be innovations for smart cities or smart urban locations? Or could there be innovative approaches to solving certain problems of the developing world or the underdeveloped world? Right? Certain other actors, very quickly to close off. I have not studied, but I'm now interested in Malaysia to look at religious organizations, media organizations. And Abao is an example of a corporate body in Malaysia. The big issue in Malaysia is freedom of speech and activism, which is not so much allowed. But a property developer has started doing this in an upscale mall in Kuala Lumpur city. So more actors coming into space, but of course the challenge is how do we see it as an innovation platform from the point of view of technology and what kind of outcomes could come out of this. Right? I'm going to stop here and just close with this. There seem to be similar slides available from various papers. Some of them are like these. I'm sorry. There are frameworks where we seem to be able to put together all the players in literature. And that's not the agenda for me. To sum up, I'm looking at various players for a smart innovation platform in underdeveloped or developing countries that could offer a different view of smart cities. Thank you very much, and I'll close the presentation there.
Dr. Yang is ready to give us some remarks. Please, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Phillips. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I will introduce the plan for the Smart City Innovation Platform establishment. The main characteristics of the fourth industrial revolution are super intelligence, hyperconnectivity, and virtualization. Accordingly, the world is transforming to a society where the cyber world and the physical world mutually interact. In such a world, machines are connected to each other by IoT, thereby communicating with each other. Machines with AI also predict human thoughts and patterns to determine production and distribution. In the future, not only people around the world, but innumerable machines are connected to each other via the high-speed internet and AI platforms. At home, personal devices and appliances are connected and formulate a smart home. And in the factory, machines are connected and formulated a smart factory. In smart city, a world will soon come in which transportation, energy, and water systems will be integrated and operated efficiently. And services such as education, welfare, and healthcare will also be integrated. Global economy is developing rapidly based on networking platform revolution. In the conventional industries, at each stage of the linear value chain, values are created and stocks get generated. But in the platform business, the producers and consumers mutually interact and stocks do not get generated. Consequently, it is said that when these two businesses are in the same market, the platform-based business will always win the traditional business. The global business is also rapidly switching to sharing economy. The sharing service starting from car sharing is rapidly expanding. Currently, you can use this sharing service in the office, kitchen, laboratory, and many other areas. Uber system now will be available in the form of a car, bicycle, and even helicopters. Another change in the market is that based on ICT, the convergence of industries will be accelerated. From the conventional way, where a single product competes for each other, the value chains in certain industry will be linked together to form a market. For example, in smart mobility, companies that deal with sensors, batteries, maps, security, big data, and AI are linked to self-driving cars and sharing business. These companies may sometimes be working together as in B2B and may sometimes compete for each other. As a smart city proliferate in this world, it became important to build an ecosystem that utilizes data produced in the city to make smart cities more competitiveness, free sharing, and convenient utilizing environment of the data produced from the city should be created. To make this possible, public data sets connected to traffic, parking, and environment should be built. These measures will stimulate the public data community. Also, an operating system that collects, manages, and utilizes urban data should be designed. Living labs should also be vitalized where citizens together with the community can come up with the idea of solving problems of the cities. In the city, build an ecosystem of data innovation, like what I have proposed, that I will help the city to grow into a leading data industry city. I'd like to propose setting up the sustainable smart city vision in Daejeon to build an urban ecosystem with high quality of life and livability. Daejeon Innopolis has a lot of talented and creative people. We need to make good use of them. For this purpose, we need to establish data hubs connecting more than 20 public institutions and create a data industry cluster by attracting data centers. With this vision, Daejeon Innopolis is drawing a master plan for the renovation of Daejeon Innopolis by the end of 2020. This project involves various innovative players, including the central government, Daejeon City, research institutes, universities, business, and the Innopolis Foundation. We expect positive results. Sorry. Can go. last one. I cannot find. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's right. For this final slide, this is the recent case of living lab in Daejeon to effectively respond to the emergency situation for elderly people living alone. The community in Daejeon is conducting a service to detect and respond to emergencies in real time by analyzing digital electricity data and behavior patterns of the elderly people. In consideration of time, please refer to the handout for the further details. I'll end all my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Yang. I really do love your slides. Dr. Rhee, we welcome you to the stage.
Good afternoon. I'm very happy to introduce Korean Technopark, which is the version of Korean version of STP to you. I'd like to keep focus on the role of platform of the Technopark in Korea. Before I start, why Korean Technopark project was launched? In 1997, as you may be familiar with Korea's situation, Korea was faced with a foreign currency crisis. So at that time, before foreign currency crisis, Korea assumed all of the Korean challenges or problems would be solved by the large corporations. But in fact, the large corporation didn't help Korea out of the foreign currency crisis. That's why Korean government decided to launch the project of Technopark to help or to incubate small and medium enterprise to overcome the shortcoming of large corporations. That's the major reason of the Korean Technopark project. Can I go back? Here. Okay, we started as an incubator for small and medium enterprise by providing some spaces or equipment, etc. And then we were asked to form the organic cooperation between key stakeholders such as the university, company, and government. And also, the Korean government assigned the role of policymaker for provincial government to us in the third stage. Now, we play as a platform for small and medium enterprise to put all of the necessary small and medium enterprise supporting services in one spot. In other words, in the Technopark. This is our first model as incubator. And then we were asked to form the organic cooperation between the key stakeholders, university, industry, and government. And then we were also asked to play as policymaker for regional provincial government. This was around 2005. And then we play as a platform service provider for small and medium enterprises. In the last 20 years, when Korean Technopark project was launched in 1998, our Technopark project have been impressive in the development. Look at this data. In 1998, the number of tenants were only 32. Now it's 2,200 companies in the Technopark, and also employees are from 445 to more than 17,000. And also annual sales would be more than $12 billion in 18 Technoparks as a whole. Now also 48 companies went public in the Korean stock market. The development was very impressive in the last 20 years. As I told you, Fred also already mentioned, yes, the platform, the definition of platform is a jungle, various. I'd like to very simplify the definition of platform. If you go to the train station, you are faced with a platform, right? So Technopark built such a platform as the platform in a train station. We provide various services from office sharing to entrepreneur job startups to even overseas marketing services. We provide almost every necessary service for small and medium enterprise or startups. These are our examples of to provide small and or startups. This slide shows our Technopark. The left side photo shows the 20 years ago. Now it's totally different from 20 years ago. Our Technopark contributed to the development of our region a lot. Around 20 years ago, there were only around 100 people lived there. Now, more than 120,000 people live there. We contribute to the development of these areas very remarkably. Also, we have various satellite offices. These are our headquarters office. Also, the second left side is the newly opened last week. We invested almost $100 million to establish the second-hand complex, which is called Complex 2. Also, in our region, there are 23 cities. Now, 5 cities have our satellite offices. All of the other 17 also need our satellite or our branch offices, which shows we are very successful in providing some necessary service to SMEs and also to develop the local areas. We are very proud that our Technopark tenant company recorded more than $1 billion in their sales in 2016. That's why I named ourselves, our Technopark, Unicorn Technopark, like unicorn company. What did we do to build this kind of platform? As you can see the definition of the platform by Gao and Cosmano. If the platform leader emerges or work with the companies supplying complementary products and services, they can together form an ecosystem of innovation that can greatly increase the value of innovation as more users adopt. Anyhow, we play as platform builders for our small and medium enterprise by providing all the necessary services for them. And also we play as platform orchestrators to moderate the conflict or the role of key stakeholders in our platform. In our platform, who are the producers? The producers are new or early stage startups or SMEs. The buyers would be big firms which would like to M&A or to buy new startups, or other SMEs to buy some material from the early startups or SMEs. These kind of producers and buyers can come to our platform and they can make exchanges between them. Yes, as you see in the middle, the 4 functions we provided were provided by us, but all of these 4 functions are accomplished or are provided in our Technopark concurrently. But on the left side, even though we prepare this kind of small and medium enterprise business services, new startup company or new or young SMEs don't know what we are doing because of information asymmetry. That's why in order to attract these new startups and young SMEs to use our services, we have to go out and explain, please come to us, please come to us, you can be benefited from us. We explain in that way to the to the field to attract to ask these new startups to use our services. It is very difficult. In the first stage, or in the last 20 years, we thought if we just equip or prepare this kind of services, then automatically new startups will come to us. But it is not the case. Anyhow, now we are going out to attract, to ask the SME to come to us. Then also large firms or hidden champions which may use or may buy our new SMEs or to get some service from our new startups also don't know what we are doing. That's why we go to the large firms such as LG or Samsung. Please use some of the companies which who are our residents. By doing this, we can put the producers and also buyers together in our platform services. How to build our platform? In order to, we found the pooling function, facilitating function, and matching functions are very important to make this platform active, this platform successful. So regarding pooling function, we provide some value proposition to the young startup. Please come to us, then you can benefit from us. And also, since network effect is dependent basically on the number of users, we need to attract as many users as possible to our Technopark. Also, we must build trust between the producer and us. So we have to show our sincerity to small and medium enterprise for them to use our services. And also facilitating services regarding, we have to provide tools and rules for both buyers and sellers to exchange their businesses. I'd like to emphasize the role of the modularity. You know, the platform can grow or evolve as the time goes on. Therefore, the tools and rules need to be designed like as Lego systems. And matching is the kind of the final outcome. Having quality, we have to having quality producers. For example, we have to quality new startups. That's why we have to go out to locate new and the innovative ideas, having the startup companies. And we are very successful in that. In the final stage, we have to link right users to right buyer, in the right time. Secondly, how to orchestrate this platform? We have to build a good database. As I think one presenter already made mention about the role of the data collection, importance of data collection. Data collection is very, very important and very difficult. In order to collect the right data in the right time, we have to show our sincerity, our integrity to SMEs or startups. Otherwise, they are very reluctant to show their data. So we are very successful in that sense by showing some trusted relationship between ourselves and our local SMEs. Anyhow, we built the database. In order to build this database, we made one important software. Once the SME or startup agreed with our system by registering their official certificate, then their data will be automatically scrapped to our system from the internal revenue data system, also their national pension system, and even the employment data system too. Automatically, all of the data will be scrapped to us. But still, some SMEs are very reluctant to show their data. But anyhow, we are very successful. Yeah. These are our strategies, how we orchestrate this platform. I would like to skip because of the running out of time. We also already established our international branches, not branches. We also cooperated with some Ethiopian government to build Ethiopian textile technopark, and also we established the Uzbek Tashkent Technopark project. Now we are already on the way to build another IT park in Tashkent. They understood our Technopark can be contributed to the development of local enterprises. I'd like to close here. Now we have to go beyond our hardware platform to make kind of software platforms. That's why we are on the way to develop software to make our history and our programs in a way of software. I think I have to stop here because of the time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Rhee, and my thanks to all the panel members. 3 questions have been submitted through the app. The organizers gave me this enormous iPad here. And let's see. The audience members actually directed all 3 of these questions to Raimund Broechler, but let me direct the one most pertinent to his presentation to him, and maybe then the other panel members can answer the others. It should be projected here, yeah? No? Anyway, the question is, thank you for your excellent presentation. You mentioned the pro side of FIWARE, but what is the con side of this open source platform for smart cities?
Okay, what is the downside of it? You know, every platform needs time to be installed. It needs time to be understood, and I think the biggest challenge is what we saw from the Japanese case. Yeah, is that we have to activate all the partners that they provide their data. You know, I understand really city as a rich source of data that can be exploited and used, and we have to take care that we think about data security. Yeah? I'm not asking for sharing all the data that are critical. So, for example, when we talk about smart manufacturing, we need not only secure data, we need data sovereignty, which is totally different level. Yeah, and if we talk about safe data and secure data, this is guaranteed by the platform. This is kind of embedded, yeah, and it needs to be maintained by the owner of the platform, yeah. But there, I would really put strong emphasis on the design of the platform. What do I really need, and where do I want to be in 1 year, in 3 years, in 5 years? Yeah, what are the opportunities and how can I grow the model? Yeah, that is, I would say, the counter side. It's not, and it would be wrong to say that you can take the FIWARE, you install it on a server, and everyone is happy. This will not work. Yeah, it is a way to go, like I tried to express with these 4 steps at least that you need to walk. It's a walk to walk.
Thank you, Raimund. So we should know where we want to go, but to be cognizant of the fact that there's a danger in not getting what we want, and there's a danger in getting what we want. But we need to. So let me then throw these other questions one at a time to any of the panel members who might care to answer. This is an intriguing one. Do you see a path to citizens getting paid for their data in the data economy? Do you see cities using data to generate revenue? Anyone who might want to respond to that? Go right ahead.
It's boring always to hear me, sorry for that. But I think it's a double yes. Yeah. For the second point, I'm really sure that the data can a city can capitalize. But whatever kind of app we have, we should validate the usefulness of the app by the usage. Yeah, this morning at breakfast we discussed that the city of Dubai is saying we are the smartest city on the earth because we have 3,000 different apps. And I would say, no, you are not. Because when you can certify that these 3,000 apps are used by 3 million people, yeah, and you know that you have a real usage of the app, then it's for the benefit of the citizens. So just having a huge amount of apps doesn't work. Yeah, the city can capitalize together with startups. Yeah, and I think these science and technology parks are an important ingredient to have the innovation coming into the smart city. Yeah, and then you can capitalize first on the data that are coming from private people as well. This is a bit tricky at the moment, yeah, because no one wants to support the people. You know, everything like Facebook, Instagram, everything is for free, yeah, and these large corporates, they are capitalizing on this data, yeah. There has to be a change, and I'm sorry to say that, but the smart city now has to pay the bill that every private person made their data so easy available without any own benefit of it, for it. That is a problem. So the smart cities now eat the soup, to say, yeah, that every individual person made the data so easily available. We have, when we go the next step on smart cities and Industry 4.0, we have to rethink what we share and how we share and what is the own business for it. Yeah.
Let me add some more. I think you mentioned a very important thing. In Korea, most of the scholars or government officials have emphasized the role of analysis system of big data, while they ignored the importance of the data generation or source of the generation. Now, I think sooner or later, the big organizations such as Google or others should pay some even small money to the source of the data generators. So I fully agree with the people should be get paid for their generating their data. Now it's just used for freely, right? It's very unfair.
I think it would be lovely to be paid for my data, but I think I have had a big payoff. Access to Facebook and Kakao. It's allowed me to live overseas for multiple years and stay in touch with family and friends and do so just in exchange for my data. It may be a fair exchange. It might be. There is one last question from the audience, and it is also about a downside. Let's see if we can bring that up on screen. Well, I'll read it. There it is. You talked about the data economy. All of us did, I think. Do you think it is typically the case, or should be, that developers can create any kind of app using the city data? I see the potential for innovation, but what if city data are used to power services which are not in line with the city's values and agreed KPIs? Who would like to address that question?
Shall I give it a go?
Please.
There is a case from the home campus in Nottingham, UK for something like this. The police in Nottingham released data on crime. And the city's values is to be a crime-free city, but it was mired by this problem. And this data was released to the university, to a particular professor, and they analyzed it and were able to show that it's only 2 regions in Nottingham that had high crime. So they could direct the limited resources of the police to solve that problem. And apparently Nottingham had a nickname as Shottingham, because you would get shot there regularly. And from there on, it's moved on to a city to be fairly safe. So it is very possible to share data and go with the values. The values of the city was to move into be a safe place and a good place to live in UK. There seems to be possibilities, the open data issues.
I might add that, well, I won't add. Since we're short of time, let me take behind you, Bindir, sorry. Yes, sir. Our Brazilian friend, yes. It's coming, your mic is coming.
Thank you. I'm Aldana from Brazil, as you mentioned. I have two questions. First is Professor Raimund. You, in your presentation, was the first that you mentioned about level of cities. And I think this is a very important point because I was wondering about how we can manage if we are thinking about small cities, like you have in Germany, a lot of that. For example, Erlangen is a very small city, 100,000 inhabitants, and full employment. And I think it will be easy to establish or how can I say, smart city there. But if you're thinking about Brazil, for example, Rio de Janeiro, a lot of slums, and around 10 million inhabitants, and we can talk about infrastructure. That is a lack of infrastructure in Brazil in some large cities like São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, and other cities, Porto Alegre, my capital city. And how we can manage different levels of cities in terms of small cities. This is first question. And the second question, please, to Professor Mohan. You live in Nottingham is a city? Yeah.
I don't live there, I live in Malaysia.
Malaysia, but yesterday, Ms. Karuna talked about Kuala Lumpur, mentioned that Kuala Lumpur is the only one city that managed the 3P, people, profit, and planet. And how it's worked there for this, to achieve this 3P.
So should I start? First of all, thanks for making me a professor, but I'm still just doctor. But no one asked me yet, so free choice. Next one. Your question is really a good point. I would really, as I said, I would define what is most important for my city. What is you put all the goals you have in mind, you prioritize them, and then you develop you can start very small, yeah? You can say, okay, for me, crime, for example, like Nottingham, yeah? Crime is really so important. Or you have problems that older people cannot anymore reach their marketplaces, to go shopping, whatever, yeah? So the goals can be totally different, and they are different in each city, yeah? And then I would define on this kind of long list of problems, then I make a short list, and then I prioritize and say, okay, here we start. And then you normally start on the first layer, which is the sensor layer, yeah? And you just try to evaluate the cost and the benefit, yeah? With one slide, I was a bit fast, yeah? But there is in the MGI report, yeah, there's a very nice kind of graphic, what you can achieve. Reduction on crime, yeah? I think you can be between 15 and 30%, yeah? When you install such a system, yeah, for crime reduction, yeah, like the tools you described. There are other ones on logistics or on traffic, yeah, where you can do a lot, yeah. So I would really go like that. Then I would define my KPIs, and then you can make a cost-benefit analysis if the investment that you have to do fits with the outcome that you would achieve. And then you have your first 5 kind of cases, and then you make it, you prioritize one project, you look where you get the investment as well, yeah, so who would fund this project, yeah, and then there are very smart companies. I just would like to mention one. I have no stake in it, but it's Libellium, for example, yeah, Libellium, a company in Zaragoza, yeah, they are doing perfect infrastructure for IoT environment, and we will have smart companies in Korea as well. I just came in mind that Libellium is offering that for your specific purposes. Yeah? So that would be my answer to your question. Yes.
Let me ask one thing. Who set the KPI and evaluate the KPI? The city level?
It must come from the city level, I would say. Yeah, should come from this smart governance that should decide and evaluate what is most important for us. As hard as this is, because I think there will be conflicting interests. But okay, one person has to make the decision at the end. Yeah.
I think for the big city, we needed to set up a smart city operating system first. And we have to set up the public data sets connected to the traffic and the parking and environment and so on. And finally, and first tool, and we have to try something imminent or something practical one. At my last presentation, I introduced our living lab trial, and let me introduce that one first. In Yuseong-gu, where you are on, there are 5,000 independently living elderly people, but it's very hard to respond to the emergency situation because only 300 elderly people are monitored out of the 5,000 people. So instead of visiting elderly people regularly, digital electricity power can be used to analyze the behavior of parents. We try to collect data and then try to solve the problem which confront the elderly people. By doing this way, I think we try step-by-step approach to several problems we confront. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Kuala Lumpur issue.
Yes.
That's a question even I wanted to ask her. I'm not very clear living in the city where we are very good on PP and P. Probably in one of the indexes, when we look at which is the best smart city in 2018 and 19, it ranges from Singapore, New York, London. Everyone is number one in different indexes. Malaysia is very, very clever at data and presenting data using various indexes. It is the world's tallest twin towers, not the tallest tower, the world's tallest flagpole and so on. So, but to their credit, since about 8 years ago, Kuala Lumpur has started refurbishing the city, and they've started collecting data on the UN SDGs, various UN SDGs, and those are the KPIs KL is using to see its improvements on planet, people, and profit. Last word, the planet part is very, very funny because every August and September, KL becomes as bad as Beijing or Delhi. With the forest fires, not forest fires, the fires that come from burning palm oil estates. So I'm not sure where the 3 Ps are very good in. Okay.
As we talk about data that are misleading or just not totally helpful, the previous question was about apps that are independently developed that run contrary to the city's strategy. And I think a more common problem might be apps that are just not well conceived. I was speaking at dinner with one of yesterday's speakers who spent time recently in Edmonton, Alberta. He says it's a very progressive city, and one of their apps, they seem preoccupied with what they call microaggressions, which means unwelcome communications or touching that falls short of assault, things that you would not call the police for, but that are nonetheless insulting, like someone being called a not nice ethnic slur, or a woman being whistled at. And these things are recorded so that they map the city, parts of the city where you're liable to encounter, if not danger, at least some unpleasantness. But we agreed that the app could be easily measuring how sensitive, or you might even say oversensitive, the person with the app is, and not really recording significant aggressions or microaggressions. So the app was well conceived, and it was in line with the city's concern about microaggressions, but as I say, it was not well conceived because in the end it was not clear what it was measuring.
Thank you very much. I think all the presentations were excellent, but I have a very specific question to my good friend and Professor Rhee. Power supply is a critical thing in most developing countries. It's just not easily and readily available. But we have a team that have visited here. They took over a hydroelectric power that was not functional. In 6 months, they repaired everything and it's working. A lot of power. They're selling nearly half of it to the national grid. The place have a lot of fresh water and a lot of space. And the idea now, they've formed a team, and this is one of the executive of the team, to now form a hydropolis, meaning from the hydropower, there is power, there is water, there is space, and they've prepared a feasibility. I want your advice. Do you just open a gate in the process of just making money for any Tom and Dick and Harry company to move in because there is quality power, or there is a systemic process where you allow certain companies for sustainability, smart cities or whatever, so that you can be able to cope with managing such a facility? The idea is to create a smart town. We are yet to get to the city yet. Thank you.
We have some, strict procedure to evaluate the applicant companies, and then if they just, involved, or they just run some kind of what should I say, not new growth engine for our region, then we will not take that good companies. Okay, so we have very strict entrance procedures for tenant companies, and also in some cases, in our region we have many nuclear power plants. Okay, so but we don't have any nuclear power part companies at all. In that case, we will invite those nuclear power part companies from other regions or even some overseas places. So that will be the answer to your question? Huh? Okay, good.
Are there further questions? Anything else the panelists would like to add about anything in the topic of the session? Well, all right then. We will adjourn. Thank you very much to each and every one of you, and thanks to the audience for being patient with us until this late hour, and we consider the session closed.
Thank you very much, all the speakers and our moderator. Please give another hand for the informative and useful discussion and speeches. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.